Welcome back, wanderers of the strange world of gods and spirits. Today, we journey to South America, into the heart of the Inca Empire, and their answer to humanity's eternal question. What happens when we die? Is there something that exists beyond our bodies? Something that continues its journey long after our earthbound flesh has returned to the soil it once walked upon. Born in the golden heights of the Andes Mountains, but eventually sprawling through the thick mist and heavy vines of the jungle below, the Inca Empire believed, without question, that the soul's journey did not end with the body's death. Their beliefs about the afterlife weren't just cosmology. They were a rulebook for living a more moral, honorable life. Death was not something to defeat. It was part of a cycle. Birth, death, rebirth, and re-death. Each turn of the wheel offered a new chance to live with greater kindness, to grow more spiritually whole. But fail to do so, fail to improve with each life, then you would regress, each return bringing you a harsher, dimmer existence. To the Inca, death was never the end. It was a shadowed passage, leading into a spectral realm where existence twisted and lingered, just beyond the veil of the living. Reincarnation loomed large in their cosmology, a chilling cycle where souls were condemned to relive existence, haunted by the echoes of past misdeeds. Each rebirth was a chance to claw back redemption, or to spiral deeper into spiritual torment. Welcome back, wanderers of the vortex. Before we descend into the depths, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps the echoes of lost civilizations alive, ensuring their stories are never truly forgotten. Now, let us step beyond the veil and into the chilling, yet awe-inspiring realm of Incan Afterlife, a place where justice reigns, where spirits walk alongside the living, and where redemption is offered, but never guaranteed. An existence both ethereal and terrifying, yet unexpectedly merciful. Let's explore a new corner of South American mythology. To the Inca, the afterlife was no immediate serene haven. It was a foreboding domain of judgment. Here, the weight of one's earthly actions bore down with merciless precision. Virtuous souls might ascend to eerie heights of reward, while the wicked were cast into the depths of some strange abyss that is nothing like the usual ideas of hell that we've been led to believe. This grim moral reckoning seeped into every corner of their lives, shaping rituals and ceremonies with an almost oppressive sense of accountability. The Inca lived under the watchful gaze of the spiritual realm, their every action a thread in the web of their eternal journey. So let me paint you a picture of what a burial for an Inca individual looked like. It all starts in Capacocha, the middle realm, where humans live their short mortal lives. The mummified bodies of rulers, priests, and heroes did not rest in silence. Their shrines became hallowed chambers, where the air was thick with the weight of reverence and fear. They were not treated as relics, but as living echoes, voices that murmured from the depths of eternity. Commoners travelled vast distances, bearing offerings of food, gold, and finery, pleas to spirits that never truly faded from daily life. When shadows of war or unrest crept over the empire, the dead were consulted in somber rites, their wisdom sought before a blade was raised or a battle declared. The lower classes did not receive such grandeur, their remains tucked away in simpler graves. For the lower working class, humble carvings of animals made of wood or stone would accompany the dead, where they'd become silent guardians in the abyss. The middle class were bestowed with real creatures, their lifeless bodies entombed beside their masters, ensuring companionship in death. But those of power, the chiefs, priests, rulers, were never sent alone. Their most devoted servants were taken with them, their fate intertwined with that of their departed lord. Wherever you sat in the order, though, death was never the end. Everybody, no matter how noble or insignificant, was sent forth with the tools of their trade, sustenance for the journey, jewels to mark their place in the cosmic order, and offerings to the gods who governed their passage. And there were sacrifices. Always there were sacrifices. In times of great struggle and uncertainty, the pure, the unblemished, and those of noble birth, children, virgins, and men of esteemed blood, volunteered their lives in Capacocha, a ritual whose name translates to the royal obligation, willingly giving themselves up as living offerings to the gods to aid them in the most troubled times. Make no mistake, this was not a tragedy in the eyes of the Inca people. No, no. The chosen welcomed their fate, for death was merely a transformation, an ascension beyond the burden of flesh. Above all else, it was an honor to be selected. As they marched knowingly to their deaths, they were celebrated, adorned in gold, clothed in finery, celebrated and doted on excessively in elaborate processions. And when the time came, they were sent up high into the mountains, where the cold crept upon them, to take their last breaths from their freezing bodies. They were given potions that dulled their senses, that sedated them so deeply that their last breaths came not in fear, but in dreamlike oblivion. They never woke up again. Not before strangulation, not before hypothermia, or even before they were buried alive. It all depended on the region, and that particular area's variation on Capacocha, and how the sacrifice was expected to die. And yet, even after death, their journey was far from over. The spirit did not simply fade, it still had trials to face. Brutal, unrelenting, cosmic tests of morality and endurance. The newly departed found themselves at the fringes of a world unlike any other. A place where rivers churned violently, where mountains clawed toward the heavens, and where the very air shimmered with unseen forces. The dead were forced to travel, their riches weighing them down as they climbed, crawled, and stumbled toward the unknown. But what lay beyond that first phase of physical torment was something far worse. The Whisperers. Those souls who had been deemed wicked in life did not stay silent. From the depths of the void, they hissed words of doubt through doorways, venomous curses that burrowed into the heart like creeping shadows. Guilt, fear, regret. If the traveler crumbled beneath the weight of their sins, they would be cast straight into the underworld without a second thought. Several of these portals needed to be crossed, each one a worse psychological torment than the other, and only those who were pure enough of heart could withstand the inner battle of wills between the soul and the manipulative ancestors that want nothing more than to have more souls to share in their suffering with them. Of all the trials, the doors and their whispers were the most feared of all, because scaling a mountain or swimming across a river is a physical thing. Hard, yes, but with enough patience and endurance, any human could make it out with sheer willpower and grit. But internal, spiritual warfare against the consciousness is a torment that seeps into the mind, the blood, and a person's very being. There are few civilizations that understood the true horror of psychological pain like the Inca did. They knew that physical injuries could heal, but internal ones, those were as permanent as the soul was. For those who endured, the river of separation awaited. Its waters were said to be so cold, so pure, that it stripped away the last fragments of corruption clinging to the spirit. The righteous would be carried across, completely cleansed and prepared for the embrace of eternity. For beyond the river was the final stage of the journey, the last stop before it was decided where a person would go. It was called the Gate of the Gods, and flanking the golden gates, two figures stood waiting. First was Inti, the radiant sun god, the golden force of perfection and order. If the soul stood cleansed, untainted by its past failures, Inti would welcome them into Hanan Pasha, the upper world, a realm of cosmic brilliance where sunlight never waned and all of the gods ruled in harmony. But if the river had not previously cast them away, they were not completely abandoned to some forgotten hellscape of fire, brimstone, and eternal damnation. Instead, they were sent to the second keeper of the departed. Next to Inti stood Supay, supreme god of the dead, ready to drag the tainted souls downward into Uku Pasha, a shadowed, subterranean domain where the corrupt did not suffer, but learned, were given a second chance to redeem themselves. Supay's form was a nightmare, a jaguar-headed beast, horns curling in unnatural shapes, eyes that saw through the very soul. His minions, the Supay Kuna, lurked in the depths. They too were shapeshifters, deceivers who tested the spirit at every turn. They appeared as loved ones, whispering lies, tempting the damned back into their old ways, to see if the morally lacking souls were truly reformed. Supay, despite his horror visage, did not seek torment. No, he sought to offer redemption. The corrupt did not escape their sins. They faced them, lived through them, endured them, and emerged better versions of their former selves. They were reborn, cast into a new life, not as rulers or nobles, as they might have once been, but as the lowliest of souls, burdened with hardship, forced to prove their worth all over again. Now, armed with the lessons from the gods and the ancestors, again and again, until they could finally rise to an acceptable level of purity that would allow them to enjoy Hanan Pacha as they were always meant to. The Inca did not believe in eternal damnation, but in transformation. They saw that mankind was flawed, but flaws could be mended, reforged, purified. They did not fear death. They feared dying as a soul too wicked to rise again. The dead never truly left the world of the living. Their mummified forms remained, centuries beyond their decay, watching, waiting, speaking wisdom to those willing to listen and pay their respects appropriately. They guided spirits in their ordeals in Ukupacha, and they had a say in current political and social affairs, forever ingrained in society. And in return for their eternal services to the living, those who were still alive made them central figures in their daily lives, making constant offerings, prayers, and visitations to their ancestors' remains, to ensure that they were properly thanked for their continuous guardianship over their descendants. And so, through them, the cycle continued, endlessly, eternally. The dead never truly left, always respected, forever revered, and constantly present in this life and the next. We hope you enjoyed this journey through the Inca cycle of death and rebirth. Each culture's beliefs and death rituals are fascinating, all different, yet somehow oddly familiar. While many of us won't know for sure what lies on the other side until we get there, recurring themes, however twisted, tweaked, or reimagined, seem to echo across time. And so, before we move on, I must ask once again, please subscribe, like, and share. This offering helps to keep these stories alive and ensures they continue to be told. Until next time, spare a thought not just for the Inca of the past, but for the ancestors who may still be watching, guiding you, or, well, just waiting. Waiting until they see you again, to whisper this life's misdoings, until the lesson has finally been learned.